And welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peebush. How are you fellas doing?
Doing well, man. 3-0 in fantasy this week, courtesy of Zoo. I appreciate the dub there, Zoo. But man, Bears still suck. NFL injuries continue to happen. This has been the weirdest fantasy year, and we've been talking about this since the beginning of the year.
Ugh.
But I know we're going to be talking about it. NBA right around the corner, man. I'm super excited. Maybe not so much about the Bulls this year. They could be very middling, play-in tournament level. But it's still here, man. It's always fun to watch the NBA, get it back in the swing of things where sports are now not just so one-sided.
4-1, man. Almost got the perfect week in fantasy football, but P. Diddy had to whoop my ass, man, with a bunch of bums, man. Rashid Rice, Downs from the Colts, Zach Moss. Jesus Christ, man. Like I was just watching my team, and they were allergic to touchdowns, man. That's all I got to say. My team was allergic to touchdowns. Calvin Ridley, the gambler.
Dud.
Absolute atrocious performance, man. My boy Puka Nacua, the waiver wire superhero, finally had an off game, man. I can't even blame the brother, man, because Cooper Kupp came back, and that guy's back at it, man, dropping 100 yards every single game. So I can't even blame Puka for slowing down. But the gambler, man. Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, that stack, double L right now, man. They had one great game together out of all the other games. Bunch of mediocre performances right now. So right now, my home league fantasy team, absolute disappointment. I'm with a disappointed dad, man. This kid just keeps getting C pluses, man. Not that awful, man. He ain't failing class. But I see that C plus, I'm just like, oh my God, boy, you could do better than that.
Could do better.
You gotta put a little more effort than that. A bunch of C plus, man, with a record of 2-4. Oh man, maybe it's actually a D plus instead, man. I'm gonna give myself a D plus for my fantasy football team right now because Jesus Christ, man. Based on the on-paper talent, man, the on-paper record versus the actual record, atrocity. An atrocity right now. Chris Godwin.
You're looking like the 2010 Miami Heat in the first 17 games, man. Just going 9-8 with that superstar team, man.
Dude, I wish I'm 500 right now. I wish I'm 500 right
True.
now. I was 500 for 2 weeks, man. Like, Jesus Christ, man. It's been an embarrassment performance. But it ain't over yet. The good thing about fantasy football, we got still 7 weeks of football.
7
weeks of football, man. But I need some virtuosos, not duds.
Listen, I feel your pain because my first loss in my other league came at the hands of Mike Evans and Puka Nacua. You know, I didn't really have any other. You know, when you get in those bye weeks, you just kind of start whoever. Which really, Mike Evans and Puka has been destroying teams for the most part. So when you have those guys put up duds, and then Jalen Hurts throwing that third interception, like I said, he got me 19.5, but that kind of knocked it down a couple points, and it was just like, it really came down. Like I said, my team fought hard, but the Chargers and Cowboys with the Chargers defense kind of, only, I guess, giving them like 9 points, gave them the edge. So, like I said, it's a long week, regroup. Hopefully these bye weeks don't destroy me. But we've been talking football for, the last 6 to 7 weeks, especially in the NFL. And, like Peebush mentioned, man, NBA is right here.
Yes, sir.
They've been doing a couple preseason games. We've seen Summer League. We've just seen so many things. We've seen a bunch of trades. I think a lot of people this year is excited. I'm pretty sure the NBA is wanting to put their best foot forward because, I've been reading a couple articles and they're definitely trying to renegotiate that TV deal, which is probably going to be lucrative. So this year is going to have a lot of twists and turns. And I wanted to ask the guys starting off with their conference champions. And people, so I'll let you start. I mean, East or West, you can pick one.
I'll start with the East. I do think it is a bit more of a straightforward of the two conferences. We talked about these two teams a couple weeks ago with the Damian Lillard trade, man, alongside the Drew Holiday trade. Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, man. I got those two. I know they're the chalk 'em picks, right? But you look at kind of the rest of the conference. You got the Cavs. So I'd call them an above-average cute story. They could cause a nice little potential second-round 7-game series, but they ain't moving on against either one of these two teams. 76ers, just drama central, man. Just absolute drama there. That never bodes well, especially when the season hasn't even officially started. Sean mentioned preseason, but we all know to take that with a grain of salt in the NBA. So yeah, man, I think that Drew Holiday trade was crucial for the Celtics on not only the defensive side, but it shores up them losing Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies last year. And honestly, I think is an upgrade overall. Even though Drew Holiday can have his nice little 2 for 20 type games, man, he's still an absolute difference maker on the defensive side of the ball. And then we know what Damian Lillard and Giannis are going to do. So we just know it. Like you mentioned a couple podcasts ago, the pick and pop, man. Brooke Lopez camping in the corner, Splash Mountain. It's just these are two unbelievably talented teams that I just think are a step, if not two, above the third or fourth potential teams that come out of the East this year. But the issue is, Zoo, who do you want in that conference finals, man? And I'm going with the Boston Celtics in 7 games. I made this argument when we were talking about the Lillard trade. I just think Drew Holiday, like the Lillard trade gave the Bucks the edge. But little did the Bucks know that the Blazers were going to flip him right back to arguably their biggest rival in the Eastern Conference. Maybe they were aware of Portland moving him. Did they know he was going to the Boston? Who knows? But that's the difference maker, man. I know you might get into all the analytics of why the Bucks are going to dominate and all that and talk about Giannis potentially winning MVP. I think this is a Jason Tatum MVP type season coming our way. And I think he's taking the Celtics to the NBA Finals again. In the East.
Not gonna, I can't even hate on that right now, man. They already made it back to the NBA Finals right now.
Yep.
That last year, these two teams, it's funny how the two best teams record-wise last year both made significant trades. They won 57 and 58 games last year.
Yep.
So these are teams that dominated last year in the regular season. Obviously, Milwaukee had one of the most embarrassing performances ever in the first round against the Miami Heat, man. A team that just seems to always just sneak up every single year, especially last year. Barely making it to the playoffs, man, through the play-in tournament, man. Barely surviving the play-in just to make the playoffs to upset them. So, well, anything can happen with these Eastern Conference Finals. But Milwaukee Bucks and Boston Celtics are definitely the lock. I just got to talk about the Sixers for a bit.
Oh, God.
This is a franchise that they get blessings of. The number 1 pick.
Yep.
You get Joel Embiid in the draft. You get Ben Simmons in the draft, and he looking like a transcendent player, man. And then things just seem to break around them. Markelle Fultz forgets how to shoot under their care. I don't know how that happens. It just seems to happen like Ben Simmons back, man. Doesn't know how to shoot. Scared of shooting layups. You somehow would be able to pull up a trade for Jimmy Butler. That doesn't work out. Like, I just feel like every time something good happens, you get James Harden. And now I'm calling Daryl Morey a liar. Like, they just have all these good things happen, and then all these bad things happen. You have all these good things happen, bad things happen. I just swear to God, like this team, I feel like they have a significant issue. I don't know what's up with this team. Like, I can't even say it's bad luck. Because when bad things keep happening over and over and over with this franchise, man, like obviously they made some suspect decisions, aka trading up for Markelle Fultz and pass on Jason Tatum, man. So obviously they made some error in judgment and picking Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. So obviously they got some general manager issues upstairs, man. And obviously they had that issue. And then you got these issues with the Hardens and the Ben Simmons right now with this franchise. So last year coming in, they had everything in place, and they still couldn't make it to the conference finals.
Yep.
So now everything's a disaster, and they're making the conference finals. No, they have a 0% chance. So
I agree.
They're down there. They have a 0. I give like the New York Knicks a better chance, man. They got better vibes than the Philadelphia 76ers roster.
Not going to get an argument over here.
They're progressing up.
Talent-wise, last year I love their talent, and they were 1 game 6 quarter away from making to the conference finals. And the first time in Joel Embiid's career, and they weren't able to get it done this year. With these upgrades from these teams, definitely not going to get it done. So Philadelphia 76ers, that's a 0%. Cleveland Cavaliers, man, they added Max Strus. That's it. Like
a sniper.
Yeah, the nice little cute little sniper, man. Got the bag, man. Shout out to Miami. Got him paid with the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. But you saw Max Strus, man. He's just a role player, man. They paid him a lot of money for a role player. So that's their big upgrade. And George Niang, a couple of snipers out there trying to create some space for Donovan Mitchell. Nah. And then they had 2 role players.
Monty Bates looks good, though. I don't know. We'll see.
As a scorer, he looks like a nice little 6-man type of guy. Probably be jacking up a lot of shots so off the bench. So might have gotten a nice little rookie this year, but look at that roster. No. Especially losing to the Knicks last year. Very embarrassing. Very embarrassing. Jarrett Allen, the lights were too bright. That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I'm out on the Cavaliers with a 0% chance. So if you're looking at the rest of them, the Knicks, the Nets, the Hawks, Jesus Christ.
No.
So easy,
No.
It's a barbecue chicken for these two teams at top, man. So the rich just got richer, man. And I look at that roster, man. The Boston Celtics are tough, man. I don't know if you guys saw the tip of Jaylen Brown dribbling a basketball. I don't know if you guys saw this clip. This is around the preseason, man. It was actually the Celtics social media, man. This guy's dribbling basketball with his left hand, man. Lost control, man. Like a little 5-year-old learned how to dribble for the first time. Dude, he went out of control. I see Jaylen Brown, 0 improvement, man. 0. I hate Jaylen Brown in the playoffs. There's something about that dude. He doesn't know how to dribble basketball. Dude, he doesn't know how to dribble, man. He has really bad handles, and based on the start of preseason, he's still got no handles. So that's why I'm fading the Celtics this year, man. I'm fading the Celtics.
Based on dribbling?
Because of the handle?
No, to make the finals, man. Jaylen Brown, man. Jaylen Brown got his super max contract. He got paid. He got paid all that money. And when people get paid, man, people get a little complacent. And based on his summer, he didn't do anything this summer. He was just negotiating with the Boston Celtics for the entire summer. I didn't see him work out his game. Not at all. Jaylen Brown. Okay, now the thing is they got to integrate a lot of new pieces. You got rid of Rob Williams, the center, with a rim protector. You got to implement Porzingis. So that's a big wild card. We haven't seen Porzingis in a big playoff game. He looked kind of good last year, but that's the Washington Wizards. Those lights, pretty dim, man. Not even people in DC watch Washington Wizards games. So you go from the Wizards situation to from DC to the Boston Celtics. That's a massive change in competitive basketball. So we got to see how that works out. So they got to blend a lot of new guys in. Porzingis, they went in a transition of going all offense. Well, I see the Milwaukee Bucks making a little more of a pivot. They pivoted from Drew Holiday to Damian Lillard. So they turned on the offense at the point guard position. And I feel like based on win-wise, it's just more seamless fit. While Mazzulla, he got some work to do. He got some work to do because they remastered this entire team. Marcus Smart is out. Rob Williams is out. And they got all these new pieces in. You got to integrate them. I don't see it as an easy fix, man. So based on the chemistry, man, I'm going with the Milwaukee Bucks because that fit, I feel like it's going to slide a little easier. While the Boston Celtics can figure it out, see how Porzingis runs and pick and roll defense, man. And obviously, I think Drew Holiday is going to seamlessly fit because he's just a better version of Marcus Smart.
Yeah.
But the whole Kristaps Porzingis situation, getting him in the post, man, dude, good luck integrating all this stuff because Porzingis wants some shots in the post.
Yeah.
He wants some shots in the post. And Tatum and Brown and even Holiday and Derek White, they are not true point guards. None of them are true pass first guys. Like Drew Holiday's
neither's Lillard.
It's all good, man. It is all good when you're a sniper like that, man. When you got range for 35, man, it is all good. That creates gravity that none of those guys in the Celtics can do. So I'm going good with Dame Dollar being the point guard of that team with Giannis. So that's all I got to say. They got a new true point guard on that roster of the Boston Celtics, and you need a guy to direct traffic with a bunch of scores that's on every level, man. Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, White, and Drew Holiday. You got to be able to have a guy to orchestrate all that. So I'm still leaning toward the Bucks, but it's going to be close. It's going to be close.
It's a pick 'em.
This is definitely the easier of the two conferences, just in terms of what's going to happen. Outside of injury, which we don't wish, there's no way these two don't make it to the conference finals. With Boston, the reasoning why I lean more towards Milwaukee is because in Boston, I'm still kind of figuring out who would be the leader because I know Jaylen Brown got the bag. And technically, I saw the other day on social media, he's the longest tenured Celtic. So I kind of feel like there's never really been anybody who has taken the mantle of being the leader. And I kind of think it's partly because of Jason Tatum, him just not asserting. Because you know what this is similar to? Is like Devin Booker. Like Devin Booker in Phoenix. Like, I think at the beginning, most people would be like, well, I'd probably take Jason Tatum when they both were coming out. Like, I know Devin Booker maybe came out later or a year before. I don't know. But Devin Booker has ascended. He went to an NBA Finals. He fought as hard as he can with Chris Paul. They came up short against Giannis. But it kind of feel like Devin Booker carries himself, even around the guys like, Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, that he's the leader. Because I mean, if you ask me about the Suns, you need Kevin Durant to be your best player. But on that team, I feel like the leader is Devin Booker. He carries himself that way. He plays that way. I know. I mean, every player idolizes and shadows their game after Kobe. But I'm just saying, I feel like Devin Booker carries himself as a leader on that team. With the Celtics, like I don't know who you can point to as being the leader. I feel like Jason Tatum has moments of brilliance where he's the best player, and I think for them to be in the finals and to maybe win the finals, he has to be the best player. But then you got someone like Jaylen Brown, who, some would argue in that finals that they lost against the Golden State Warriors, he was their best player. So, like, if I'm Jaylen Brown, yeah, I can't dribble, but it's like, dude, I showed up in the last finals we played in. Like, you was sitting there having these little texts from Kobe and stuff like that and was going 9 for 24,
Oh, my
9 for
God.
7. Like, you were doing all that.
8
Like,
for
I was
24.
competing.
Oh,
yeah, like I think it's more of a show with Jason, and to me, I think Jason has a deeper bag, and I think most people would pick Jason Tatum over Jaylen Brown. But someone on Boston needs to assert themselves as being the dominant leader. I think Drew will be a great locker room guy, and he'll be able to bring guys together, and he has championship DNA because he's actually won it. So someone could say, well, he'll just be the leader by default, but I don't know, man. Marcus Smart, I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but I do think he had a lot of that rah-rah in the locker room, especially in getting people in line.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Tough guy type of attitude. That's not to say Drew can't bring that because I think he can, but Marcus, I think, carried himself more so like, hey, I know I'm the third guy, but I'm going to take a shot and I'm going to shoot. And if Tatum and them are on the floor and they look nervous or tentative, I'm just going to shoot it because that's just who I am. So that, along with what Zeus said with Milwaukee just being a seamless fit, I just imagining a bunch of pick and rolls. Like, I've also been hearing a lot of really good news about Marjon Beauchamp. I think that's his name. Like, he's the forward. I mean, I think it was a video of Chris Middleton saying he was like getting the best of a lot of people outside of Giannis in their one-on-one. So it's like, I like that development because that's just another wing scorer. Their backup point guard does make me nervous because they don't really have a true point.
They don't have depth.
But Dame's ability to just at any point go for 40, I think kind of neutralizes that. And to him and Giannis being like their point forwards, and even Chris Middleton to an extent, they can bring the ball up the floor, so I don't think that'll be an issue. So, like Zeus said, with the other teams, Philly's a mess. Miami, I mean, if Tyler Hero just takes a crazy step, maybe they can make somebody nervous. But outside of that, I don't see any other teams. Yeah, I don't see any other teams.
Dude, it's over when you give Kyle Lowry $30 million as your starting.
Oh, here we go.
Man. It's over.
It's over. It is
what happens, man. If they actually got an asset with $30 million, maybe they would have got it.
My lasting image I saw of Kyle Lowry was it was in game 2 when Miami tied it up in the finals and he had a pick and roll with Bam and he threw like a nice bounce pass. And I was like, this is why Kyle Lowry is in the finals. He could just do stuff that a league you know who could need Kyle Lowry right now, and they would take him in a heartbeat as a Milwaukee. They would take him in a heartbeat.
Stop.
As a backup?
They would take him in a heartbeat. As a backup guard, they would take him.
For a
championship pedigree, run the offense.
Don't make 30. Backups don't make 30.
That's what we're saying. For cheaper.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he gets bought out. I mean, how many years he's got? 1 or 2? I don't know.
This might be his last one.
I mean, somebody could buy him out. Miami may buy him out. And
Jesus.
He'd be a hot commodity.
Yeah, he's a hot commodity for the veteran minimum, but the brothers make $30 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a championship tax, man. Listen, you know what? Actually, that's a championship tax because you know who else some might say he got overpaid was Fred VanVleet, and that's because he got a championship tax to go play at Houston. It's just you win a championship, man. You kind of get to name your price, even though you might not be worth it. You think Fred VanVleet is gonna be worth his contract in 2 years, 2 to 3 years?
Hell no.
Like,
no,
I don't think
Houston just had a bag full of money and be like, we got to spend it on somebody, so he gave it to VanVleet. Yeah. They got a bunch of young guys that ain't getting paid yet, so you got to pay someone, you lose the money.
One team I'm going to be as a sleeper in the East, I'm very, very interested in is Orlando. I think I like Paolo a lot, and I don't think they're going to win the East, but I think if they make the playoffs, just how their team is structured, they could bother some people because Paolo's kind of a mismatch problem.
Absolutely.
But it's whatever. But so going to the Western Conference, Zoo, what are you looking at there as your conference matchups?
Western Conference, man. The West is still the best, man.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at depth, if you look at potential quality contenders, man, they're just better than the East in every single way. Because I look at this roster, even the sucky teams down there, aka the San Antonio Spurs, that's going to be a hell of hell of a matchup in the regular season now because you got the
For
freaking
real.
nature and Victor Wembanyama, who's just doing absolutely ridiculous things in the preseason right now. Calling for a alley-oop from the 3-point line. That was just absolutely absurd. Like, that was actually absurd watching that dude play basketball. Wild. So I'm looking at top to bottom in the West. Every single matchup is going to be brutal. Winning 50 games in the West is going to be a bloodbath. Because even like if you look at the Houston Rockets, awful team last year. That's a really talented team full of young guys. Like you got 5, 6, 7 young dudes on this team that, they got some talent. So every single night is going to be even like a team like that's tanking like the Portland Trailblazers now after the Dame trade. They got some young guys too. So I'm talking about winning 50 games. You're going to need guys to stay healthy because if you miss a bunch of time in the regular season, your record ain't going to be that good because there's no easy matchups, man.
Yep.
From the Sacramentos to the San Antonios to the Pelicans, man, every single matchup you're playing against young guys who have potential all-star capabilities, man. But for me, man, I'm going to still lock and load again. I went back and forth, man. They did not have the best offseason. They did not have the best offseason, but based on the domination that they showed last year in the playoffs, man, I got to still put my boy Joker back in the Western Conference Finals, man. I love Joker. Last year, everybody now is like, okay, the Joker got it done. I'm like, man, the Joker was always that good. He just got a sidekick back. Batman always needed his Robin. And Jamal Murray, not going to lie, he was more of a Robin, but he was more of like a Robin plus, man. Not going to lie, he's more like Nightwing, man, because that brother was a number one option. Because Jesus Christ, that guy was putting 30 points against the Lakers, man, in the Western Conference Finals, having one of the most amazing series I've seen in my entire life. So he's got a guy in the playoffs who goes into superstar mode. Because in the regular season, he hasn't even made an all-star team. It's one of the weird, crazy. It's a weird phenomenon that in the regular season, he's more of a high-caliber starter. And then in the playoffs, he jumps to a superstar. So it's like there's not even in between. Man.
Eli Manning. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my God.
No, you're right.
It's just like it's
he
weird.
Takes a step.
I can't think of like any other player that goes from not even an all-star to a superstar.
I mean, you could
argue
he's an all-star, but Jimmy Butler's kind of been like that the past couple of years.
Yeah. But Jimmy Butler has made multiple all-star games.
Of course, but
he's been on
technically, yes, but then in the playoffs, it's just like
he turns into a different guy.
He might be the only other guy I can think of.
Yeah, I can't even
making
think of
that big of a
like
jump between regular season.
But it's great. He has never made an all-star. I feel like this year, just based on last year's performance, like this guy's gonna make an all-star team.
Yeah,
like, if he puts up like 20 points or whatever, not even like great numbers, he's gonna make an all-star team this year because he's so good. But in the offseason, though, I'm a little worried. I look at the bench, bunch of young dudes like Christian Braun. That guy's gonna have to play more minutes now because Bruce Brown is out.
Brown's gone.
Yeah, like Bruce Brown is gone, and Jeff Green is, and those guys were I would say the two biggest guys outside of Braun in the 8-man rotation in the NBA Finals. So
they didn't play that many guys either.
Yeah,
Braun was the last guy.
Because the starting lineup was amazing. Like, it was like perfect chemistry,
and it was Brown, Green,
Brown, Green, exactly. So like they're gonna have to find another veteran step up, and maybe their development is great. A couple of these young guys pop off, so that's gonna be a wait and see approach. But the way they dominated last year in the playoffs, man, they swept the Lakers, man. They swept the Lakers. I can't get over that. They swept a team that legitimately thought was a really good team. It wasn't like the Lakers were playing like garbage. It was not like the Lakers were
after the trade.
After the trade, they legitimately were a good team because even without LeBron, they were winning games in the regular season. And that was not something you could say of previous LeBron teams where it was just heliocentric against Bron. Bron missed a game. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. But without it, they were winning some games because shout out to Austin Reeves who got paid this summer. But like guys like Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, man, like those guys really showed that they were legitimate NBA players. Yep. So they whooped an elite Lakers team in the final or the Western Conference Finals. And then I'm just like, okay, everywhere else might have got a little better, but the Nuggets were so much better than the entire West last year. Like the series weren't even competitive. Like I feel like the Timberwolves gave them the hardest run in the first round with Rudy Gobert playing some good defense against Jokic. So
wait, they got 1 or 2 games off of them. I can't remember.
1 game.
I think it
was the Suns that got 2.
That got 2.
Yeah.
So like that's
so
my
who's your other teams though. That's what I'm curious.
And not gonna lie, Sean just did some foreshadowing, man. The Phoenix Suns, man. The Phoenix Suns, man. Did some foreshadowing there. Man, I'm just looking at that team on paper. Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, man. That is so much firepower. And from what I saw from last year, pretty much Kevin Durant and Devin Booker won 2 games by themselves last year against this Nuggets team. Pretty much because the rest of the roster didn't really do much. Obviously, CP3 got injured. They were using Cam Payne. That dude's atrocious. Like, my goodness, you go from Cam Payne to Bradley Beal pretty much. That's pretty much what happened right now. Because CP3 did not play after he got injured. So you're inserting Bradley Beal as a shooter. And if he got to camp in the corner, you got to camp in the corner for Devin Booker and KD. So I'm just like, you got 3 legitimate all-stars. You got a new coach in there where last year there were some bad vibes with the Ayton, Monty Williams situation. That was an absolute disaster. And obviously, right after Monty Williams got let go, Devin Booker said something, "We'll be all right," pretty much. He tweeted something with that meaning. I'm just like, okay, there's something going on with them. Something going. The vibes weren't good with the head coach. So obviously, you got Frank Vogel, and this is a guy that dealt with stars with the Los Angeles Lakers, man. More of a defensive mind. So hopefully, he can implement a more of a defensive mindset in this roster and utilizing his role players. Obviously, got Nurkic in there after shipping out DeAndre Ayton. Got a couple more role players. They got Eric Gordon in there. So they did pretty well in free agency, getting, I would say, snipers around.
That's all they need.
This big 3 right now.
And they needed a big guy that didn't have as big of an ego.
Because Ayton with those 3 guys, you ain't gonna take any shots. No. They're not gonna call plays for you. You're not gonna get post ups. You're not gonna get much opportunities on offense to be the guy for a number 1 pick. He obviously want to be that guy, being a former number 1 overall pick. So you gotta get a guy in Nurkic there more settled in his role as a role player, because that's what they need. They need guys that can defend, that can rebound, and can shoot. In offense, you don't need a genius of a head coach to figure out that offense when you got 3 guys that literally could put up 30 points every single night. So I'm picking the talent, even though KD's injury history recently has been a little, and he's getting up there in age. So that's a little worrisome. He's still giving me that. I love the Clippers' talent, but those PG knees and those Kawhi knees, man, a little bad too. So KD's getting in that realm of this guy's definitely injury prone.
Yeah.
And these guys ain't getting any younger.
Load management.
Oh, Jesus, man. NBA trying to ban that of load management right now.
It's going to be tough in the West, too, to your point, Zoo, to load manage this.
You might not be able to.
Dude, you can't.
Clippers are screwed.
You load manage your way to the 6th seed. And if you fall to the 7th seed, you're in the play-in tournament. Yep. And anything can happen in the play-in tournament, as we've seen from last year. Anything can happen. A team that's definitely worse than you could definitely beat you in a single-game elimination. So
absolutely.
I love what they did with the play-in tournament. It makes the regular season more impactful. And right now, in this conference, you got to win as many games as possible to avoid falling out into the play-in tournament. So I'm going with the Nuggets and Suns, a rematch of last year in the second round, one of my favorite playoff series last year, and the Suns got an upgrade.
So you picking the Suns out of the West? Pick a team.
I gotta pick a team. This is tough, man. This is tough because making it back-to-back to the finals, that's hard too.
It ain't easy.
It ain't easy.
Not in this league now, yeah.
It ain't easy. And I look at the Nuggets, and they didn't significantly improve. Not even a little. If all I wanted was them to get some nice little role players back. That's all I wanted. I didn't want them to add a star or whatever. Just some role players. So all these young guys, they have to develop. Can't believe I'm saying this, man. I hope I'm wrong because I love my boy Joker. That dude, the real MVP, man. Should have won MVP last year. He got robbed last year, man. Even though I picked Embiid, he got robbed last year. I'm going with the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah,
I knew.
Yeah. I don't want it, man. I don't want it. I don't like KD that much, man.
We're talking about this conference as if it's a lot harder, and I think what we're failing to remember is that it's really hard in that 3 to 6 range. We don't really know how it's going to. The Grizzlies, they're missing Ja Morant for 25 games. But Marcus Smart is going to fill in well, and we've seen them be successful without Ja in the starting lineup because they're that cohesive of a group, right? Do I think they're going to end up being a top 2 seed? Probably not. I could see them in that 3 to 4 range because they're still a damn good team with a lot of great talent on that team. You got the Dallas Mavericks. Luka, prime MVP candidate this year if he continues to progress, which I don't know how he can just continue to keep going up every single year, but he somehow finds a way. Then you look at the Kings. Are they legit? Can they come back and actually do it again? Or are they like the New York Giants from last year to this year, man? Are they just an extremely cute story? We got the Warriors. Can't forget about the Warriors, man. They added CP3. We know what CP3 was doing in Phoenix. A lot of people thought he underwhelmed. Got to remember how old this guy is. He's pushing 38, 39 years old, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got the savvy team that's probably going to find a way to give a team living hell. But do you want them in the conference finals? Do you see them getting out of the West? I don't see it this year. So, Zoo, I do agree with you. Those are my top two teams as well.
Oh, they are. Wow.
And I'm also leaning towards the Suns, and I'm gonna say why. I guess one, we talked about the Jeff Green and the Bruce Brown, which I think was the biggest loss for them. But similar to Miami and their role players, they couldn't pay him. Right? They just weren't going to be able to pay him.
$27 million.
$27 million. Worth it. He had some huge shots, had some big games for that Nuggets team in their playoff run last year. Jeff Green, man, he's still going to find a contract, man. This guy, I swear to God, he's just Mr. Relevant in the NBA.
He's going to become the Andre Iguodala guy.
He is the Iguodala. He's pretty much a target version of Iguodala. And but look at the Suns, man. My biggest concern, and you were just talking about this with Boston, do they really have a true point guard?
No,
they don't. And they have three of, I would argue, top 8 to 10 premier scorers in the NBA, all on the same team.
Yeah.
You look at a team. The only other team that I can really think of, I guess, besides the Miami Heat with Bosh, who would you really consider him a premier scorer in the NBA? He put up 24 and 10, but not premier. But you could argue that in their own right, the 08 Celtics was the closest team to that. Kevin Garnett was a prime scorer in his day. Ray Allen obviously could put up massive numbers. Paul Pierce, the original but slightly less athletic Jason Tatum, man. But what did they have, Zoo? They had a young point guard, Rajon Rondo, who was willing to just pass first and run the entire offense himself. And they actually trusted him to do that. Can those three guys somehow find somebody that can lead them to not perfectly evenly distribute the ball, but keep everybody happy and get good shots for their team? That's my only concern with the Suns, but I think that the Nuggets' loss in their depth is worse than not having a true point guard for the Suns. So I'm giving a slight 7-game type series to the Phoenix Suns, with the Boston Celtics knocking them out in the NBA Finals, man. NBA champions, and it's been a long time coming, man. The Boston Celtics. I think they're tired of it, man. They're tired of it. They're due. They are due. Just like Joel Embiid for MVP, man.
Yeah, they definitely are
they're due. I just think the Suns are going to implode. I don't know who's going to guard them. Durant's getting older. Bradley Beal is not a good defender. Devin Booker tries. Nurkic is not quick enough for Kristaps. Who are you matching up in the Boston Celtics? Or hell, you want to put the Bucks in there either. Who are they matching up with? I just don't think the Suns could take advantage there. I think Nurkic and Jokic would actually be a pretty good matchup if Nurkic can stay healthy this year. But you look at once they come out and they're in the finals, I think the Boston Celtics are the hardest team to match up with, besides just taking care of Giannis. Okay, that's the hardest. I think that's the hardest big matchup in the NBA.
I think that's for any team, though.
But how are you going to stop both Brown, Tatum? You got Kristaps sniping in the corner, and then Drew Holiday's over there being like, "I don't need to try an offense. I'm just going to shut down your best player." And I'd be very interested to see a Celtics Suns finals. I think it'd be really exciting to watch.
The Suns, they kind of, I mean, they want to say Book is the point, but I don't think I want Book being my point if I want the most efficient version of the Suns. So the only saving grace they will have is in the buyout market if somebody comes available, and then
Kyle Lowry.
Just about to say that. If
Kyle Lowry's $30 million, man. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of buyout.
You never know, man. Wait, well, didn't Kevin Love? He got bought out. How much was his last year at Cleveland?
Like
I think it was significant.
He made 20. He made 20 plus. I don't know. Cleveland donated Kevin Love to the Miami Heat for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
And there's other point guards besides Kyle Lowry. It's just funny to keep bringing him up.
Of course,
but that would be their only saving grace if they were able to just get just competent, someone who could just run the offense, then look out. But I'm on the same train with the Suns. I kind of feel like with them, it's more how long is it going to take for them to mesh? Who's going to be like the pecking order in terms of taking last shot? It's all the questions you have. It's all the questions you have for any big three. Like every big three, same thing we had with the Nets. You know, I don't know who else was another big three, but like every other big three, you always have these same questions of the pecking order, who's going to do all this, who's going to initiate offense, who's going to take games off, who's going to, depending on matchups, take the less, more shots or whatever. I do have an interesting question that I just thought of, like, because it's with Kevin Durant. What other two at their apexes? Like, he had Kyrie and Harden. I think that big three is better when they're at their apex than this one.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's because of Bradley
Beal. Yeah.
And Harden could play the playmaker role.
Yep.
Yeah. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I think if somehow he was able to still have that in Brooklyn, like, that would be my pick if they were, like, healthy. But it's just because they got injured and whatever.
We always forget, dude. You want to talk about one of the best one-on-one players that since I've been alive watching play is Kyrie Irving, by far.
Yeah.
I mean, we forget that with all his shenanigans and all of his antics that he's gone through.
Going on.
He is 100% one of the best one-on-one players ever.
Yeah.
So
that just, I know if you're Kevin Durant, I know he's happy in Phoenix, but I think he probably would have preferred if Harden and
Scottsdale, Sean. It's Scottsdale, man.
Out there in that sun, man. Devin Booker, man, did a lot of convincing. But yeah, with the Suns, I just think it's going to be like who's going to mesh well. And I kind of like. I mean, they got Eric Gordon, they got Grayson Allen, they got dudes that can make open shots. So it's not like the cupboard is completely bare after them. Like
they didn't have that last year.
Yeah, they didn't. They didn't have an Eric Gordon. They didn't have a Grayson Allen who can easily play his role and piss somebody off and maybe get someone ejected. Like he can definitely do that.
Nurkic was an upgrade, in my opinion. Like DeAndre Ayton's talented, and I get that.
It's just health with Nurkic.
Overall, his health is an issue. But overall, I do think he's just an upgrade. Ego, physicality. He's much more physical than Ayton is, by far.
Yeah, and you'll need that.
And you need that in the West against some of those big guys and clogging up the lane against a Doncic, right, who's a strong guy. So I'm actually really excited to watch them play. But to your point, I think the egos, that's going to be their biggest the biggest ladder they're going to have to climb.
And I'm not mad at Ayton because I'm the number one pick. Like, come on. I mean, I know I'm supposed to take a back seat to, dude. I think those guys are so arrogant, and I know you got to have self-awareness if you want to win a championship. But as we've learned, especially in the NBA, a lot of these guys are not championship focused. And I think Ayton, once he got a second contract, is a little bit more like, okay, I want to get my numbers, and I guarantee you, and this might probably be the reason why he got shipped out of it. I guarantee he had a conversation with Devin Booker and was like, bro, you was the 14th pick. Like, I don't care how big you are now. Like, I guarantee you, Ayton was probably having conversations like that because his personality comes off as like, I'm still that dude, and that's why he's in Portland now, battling with Robin Williams.
Yep.
But the thing with Denver and their depth, it is a little concerning. And one thing I'm thinking about with them too is Michael Porter. Now that they got a ring, I wonder if he's like, bro, I think it's kind of time for me to assume what Jamal Murray is, and I wonder if he thinks to himself like he should be that guy. Because there were rumblings before when Jamal Murray was hurt, like Michael Porter trying to assert that power of being like, oh, I'm the number 2 guy. And that didn't happen because Jamal Murray came back healthy and showed he's the, Robin to Joker as his Batman. But that's something interesting to monitor because I think for that team, Aaron Gordon needs to stay healthy and still be the defensive force and knock down his threes and just be the pest that he can be because of the different types of guys, especially if you run into a team like Phoenix and you're going to need someone to
you need a guy to guard Kevin Durant.
Yeah, somebody to bother Booker, Bill. I mean, I guess Murray can kind of stay on Bill or whatever, but like somebody to bother Booker and and Durant. So I'm interested to see that dynamic. And to your point, I think you brought this up. It is really difficult to just go back-to-back. Teams don't do that, regardless of how great like Giannis was a perfect example of that. When Giannis won that first title, everyone's like, yeah, Boston, I mean, they're going back. They're going back. Like, they're going to, they've already battled through Boston. They beat Durant. Like, he's going to win a championship. And then it's just like stuff happens. Like, and I do think complacency is a real thing in the NBA. And there's only – because to me, I've always had this thing of like, it's really only like Bron, Steph, maybe Durant, where people's like rings matter. Like people have, because they're in the level of, hey, you got to get to 6 because of Michael Jordan. Like nobody's having that conversation about Jokic. Maybe they will. Nobody's really having that conversation about Giannis right now. They only have 1. But it's like now if they get 2, 3, then that conversation ramps up. So I kind of feel like with that, complacency kind of happens. So I think with Denver, that is a real possibility. Jokic is a 1-on-1, and there's nobody that can really guard him. So I don't think there's any team. To me, if I was crafting a team, I'm not crafting a team to try to get somebody to guard Jokic because it ain't happening. It's just not happening. You're not going to like. I would rather build a team around something that could maybe score more than Jokic, but I'm not going to build a team around stopping Jokic or Embiid because you're just not going to be able to do that. So to me, it's like I'm with the Suns, but like, man, to your point, dude, when we were talking about the Lakers a little bit earlier, I think there's going to be some guys on the Lakers that's going to really jump into their. I mean, I don't know if they're how many years in their league, but like their second leap in terms of a player. Like, I think Reeves playing for Team USA is going to have him in a different world of confidence.
Impact. Yeah.
Like, I think there's going to be some games where he's taking last shots, doing pick and roll with Braun. And like we said before, when Braun was out, I'm like, as long as they're not, both of those guys are not out, like Davis and Braun, I think that team is extremely good. And one thing with the Lakers, they're a massive team. Like a massive team.
Dude, they got some centers. Like what they
like
made
centers and wings
changes in the offseason. Like Jackson Hayes, that's to guard Jokic. That's the only reason.
He's just gonna be there for 5 fouls. 6 fouls.
He's there to guard Jokic.
Piss him off.
And just pretty much we're like 80, we can't put you on him. You're getting roasted. You're gonna be the help defender that helps to bother Jokic if Jokic is like
weak side defender.
Exactly. As a weak side defender, Anthony Davis was a lot more effective because when he was on Jokic, it was a barbecue chicken. It was embarrassing how good that they did. So the Lakers offseason, I really like their offseason.
And they just retain guys, really.
Oh, yeah. There's all role players. That's what they need. They got their 2 stars, and Austin Reeves, his game reminds me a little of a Chris Middleton type game, man. Like, even the shot looks kind of similar. Like that Chris Middleton, again, got the little ball handling, shoot the little pull-up jump shots. Like, he has a very similar game to Chris Middleton, and if he improves his game, maybe ups his points a little more this season. So, and D'Lo talking about he wants to be the Derek White of the team. That's what he said. D'Angelo,
you know him saying that though.
That's good. That's good. It's not D'Lo. I want to be an all-star. D'Lo. No. They don't need D'Lo to be an all-star. They need D'Lo to be a good defender.
15 a game.
Hit open threes. Be a good defender. Orchestrate the offense. Like that's what they need. Like, and I like D'Lo having the mental of thinking that because I think he got humbled in the playoffs.
He did.
He got humbled in the playoffs because, not going to lie, he sort of went to bed shooting the basketball.
That round wasn't great.
Yeah, he was awful. His main highlights were hitting threes after the game, showing that I've been putting in work. Like, that's what it was. D'Lo was awful.
True.
I think he should. I think for that team to reach their maximum, he should be the guy off the bench. I think Gabe should start over him because I think Gabe fits better with Braun in terms of a knockdown shooter, and he's going to, I think, be more of a defensive presence. And I think D'Lo's presence coming off the bench in that second unit, that could provide a lot more of a scoring punch than Gabe Vincent because D'Lo can definitely run the point, and I think with that second unit, you need more of a guy who's a ball handler, or they might just put Austin Reeves in, when he's probably going to start. But I'm just saying Austin Reeves can maybe do that in the second unit. But I just think the Lakers, man, like I said, with their guards, like Jalen Hood-Schifino, another guy that's going to be able to be brought along slowly because he's going to be behind Russell, and Gabe Vincent, 6'6" guard. Like they got Torian Prince, another knockdown, 3 sniper, 6'9". You got Rui, he's 6'10". You got Braun, 6'9". Like they got a lot of wing guys and big guys. So like what I'm thinking about, because like in my finals matchup, I got them in the Suns. I think the Lakers match up very, very well with the Suns. Unless the Suns go crazy in terms of scoring, which they're capable of doing, like you're gonna have Torian Prince, like maybe Jalen Hood-Schifino at that time he's not the lead point guard, but he's the guy that's coming off and just being a defensive presence and causing issues. Like they got a lot of 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" wing guys who can bother all of these type of guys. And then in the middle, respect to Nurkic, but I think Anthony Davis and Christian Wood can make light work of that. So it's like, to me, I think matchup wise, that would be great. So to your point, I think it could be.
Sorry, go ahead, finish your.
No, Hood-Schifino, I don't think he's going to be anything. Yeah, he could.
That's what he needs to be.
He could be a guy who, like scoring wise, I don't even think that should be like his mentality. And I think that's why Darvin Ham, because there was some controversy on like who they were trying to pick. I don't know who they were looking at that spot, but Darvin Ham, in terms of him being a defensive coach, I think he wanted a guy who is big guard, assist, play make, and if you got an open shot, just shoot it. And I think with having the Gabe Vincent signing and D'Angelo, he's going to be able to grow. He might start in G League. I don't know. But he's going to be able to grow at his own pace. And I think they'll be able to use him a little bit, kind of similar to how Christian Braun was, even though I don't think he's starting the G League, but how he was with the Denver Nuggets. And he was just able to come in and make some plays in the NBA Finals and stuff like that. So, like I said, I think I said in the East I had the Bucks. And that's where I think I got the Bucks with Dame just being on that stage. I just can't envision, even though I really wouldn't want to bet against LeBron in the finals. I just think Dame being on that stage, I think he would go berserk because he's like, that's the thing for me. I think is going to be his saving, like his moment. He wants the big stage, the opportunity, and having Giannis riding shotgun with him. I think he would have an out of body performance because that's the thing people knock Dame for is not his clutch gene or not his ability to be a great player. It's just like you haven't done anything in the playoffs, and that's so unfair because he's playing with or playing against Steph Curry in the Western Conference Finals, who's one of the greatest players of all time. So you're just running into that person all the time, and you don't have as much ammo. And I just think Dame would have an insane finals to where it's like, we know Giannis is on his team and he's going to be doing this thing too, but I think Dame would just go to another level because he's the type of guy where we know he's going to make big shots. And if it's any of those games, because most finals games for the most part are going to be close, he's going to be ending them. I think he would be ending them. And, a lot of that too with the Lakers is I like them, but health-wise, I don't know where LeBron and Anthony would be at there. And I know that's unfair because you can say that with every team, but I mean, it's just a reality. Like LeBron's in year 21 and Anthony Davis is who he's shown us to be. Like he's just been that. Like, hopefully this year he is managed and load managed right to where he can get through the season and play at least 60 games or 65 games. But I think that would be the matchup. If I had to put a percentage on it, like 80%, I think that's likely of happening. I want it to happen. Like, because I just want to see Dame in the finals going against Braun. That would be amazing TV to me. Like, because like I said, with Boston, I do think they have the depth to get there, but I don't know, man. I think the leadership aspect is a big thing with Boston. And it is a now or never. Like, you need to figure it out. Like, because if not, we're going to start making decisions. We got Tatum. We got Brown. We just paid Brown. We're going to have to pay Tatum next year. Can't keep that roster forever. But there is one question I had to ask, and I thought of this when we were talking about the East. And a little bit before the pod because I was doing a little bit of research. But, Zoo brought up Philly, right? And there's going to be a lot of turmoil in terms of like Embiid, his happiness. James Harden wants out. Tyrese Maxey is, I guess untouchable according to Daryl Morey. He's not going to trade anybody for him. So I'm thinking to myself, if Embiid gets to a point where he sees Harden's probably going to get let go or traded, or he just knows Harden is saying all the right things right now, but he's not definitely going to play to his, highest ability. If Embiid ends up on the trade block and OKC is able to keep Shea and Chet, does that change your answer in the West? If they were able to acquire Embiid and not give up Shea and Chet? Because I think it does for me. I think it does.
OKC, man.
That'd be nasty. I guess my only concern would just be inexperience. Like, you can't even say that it's not like you're bringing in a guy who's been to NBA final. He hasn't even been to a conference final.
Yeah. Embiid has all the accolades now. MVP.
He was top 5 in MVP last year. And Embiid was the MVP. So technically, you could be looking at 2 MVP-like players on the team with Chet, who at his apex could be a poor man's Durant. And like you say, they wouldn't be. The thing is with OKC, why I brought that up, is they give away Giddey and they're not. And say you give away Dort, the rest of the roster is still really good, and they would be giving up a lot of draft capital. And those 2 guys, I think Philly, out of all the teams in the league where Embiid, if he gets pissed off, he wants to go somewhere. Even I don't know if he would love to go to OKC, but like they have the best package. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know. I think it would change it. It would
just offer Jaylen Brown straight up for him.
Not think,
and
I think next year is the year that happens. I don't think this year it would happen. But
no, I know.
I was thinking about that. I think that
Thunder.
That would, because then you got a guy. Because the thing with the Thunder, I think that's missing right now for them, and why I think they can make the playoffs and kind of make a run. But what's missing is that guy in the middle. Because if you allow Chet to be the 4-man, and he's not concerned, because Chet can rebound, he's just smaller. But if you can allow Chet to be the foreman where he's operating on the perimeter and getting to the rim. Shea can do that. And you got Embiid down there who can just anchor and hit mid-range. Like, let me ask you a question. Like, I don't know if that does happen. I think it could almost be because if say they matched up with the Suns, I know the Suns have the experience and the firepower, but like they have absolutely no one to deal with Embiid. And then playoff basketball is a whole lot different. It's a whole lot different. It kind of caters to a slower pace and
they have
grind it out.
They have no one to stop Shea. This is the thing. The Suns are not a great defensive team. Now you talked about Vogel, Zoo, hoping to kind of bring that atmosphere. But you can't force people to play defense. You have to have something in you that just you want to embarrass your opponent if you actually want to be a great defender.
Like Aaron Gordon, he wants to embarrass whoever he guards every time. Not scared.
I'm telling you. Yeah. I'm going to say this one more time. He is going to want to embarrass Damian Lillard. That's his sole goal.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it will.
He may want to, but
he wants to. He got a little older. Jimmy Butler lit his ass on fire in the first round. He cooked him like a piece of bacon that first round, man. Looked awful.
That's probably because Drew maybe underestimated Jimmy. I don't know.
I think
everybody does.
Jimmy was just
draws all the fouls.
Jimmy just is camouflage.
Jimmy just dropping 50 on him, man. So he got a little hurt his ego a little because he's a defensive guy. So it'll be interesting. But the Milwaukee Bucks, man. Damian Lillard. I like what you talk about because he's in that same mode as Jamal Murray, man. They're very similar,
bro.
They're very similar players, man. Elite ball handlers, elite shooters, guys that can hit big shots, high pick and roll, the 2-man game. Just get that little Nuggets magic in there in the Milwaukee Bucks, man. It's their time to shine. I don't know. You saw that picture, man. Giannis with the Damian Lillard, man. Maybe a little throwback to Oscar and Kareem back in the day, man. The big and the small, man. The big and the small,
you're not
man.
Talk about Oscar. You hate Oscar.
Yeah, I do hate Oscar because Damian Lillard 10 times better than Oscar Robertson, man. He can actually shoot a damn basketball. So I can't wait to see that combination. So I definitely.
Wait, when Oscar Robertson invented the triple-double?
Yeah,
Big O. That's blasphemy.
Big O, the big.
That's blasphemy, too. He invented the triple-double. You can't disrespect the guy who invented the triple-double.
Oscar Robertson.
That's like the most hallowed stat in the NBA.
Okay, Big O is for whatever. He's great and all.
Russell Wilson spoiled him.
That left hand, man.
Just spoiled him.
That left-handed dribbling, man. That left-handed dribbling.
No, it wasn't pretty. I will say that. Yeah,
dude, that jump shot.
It's not the prettiest aesthetic.
Behind the back of the
head.
Also
1968 Zeus. So who gives?
I know. Prehistoric basketball. It was not good basketball back in the day. I appreciate them for being founding fathers, but Jesus Christ, it was not good basketball back in the day. So I'm excited for the Bucks, for Giannis, and hopefully Damian Lillard for him to get his first championship this year. Because this guy, that's all he's missing on his resume right now.
Let's start with the conference finals win first.
That would be a great first step for Dame. That'd be a great first step for Dame. But I will say Dame has flirted with the MVP conversation sometimes. Giannis has actually won an MVP a couple times. I'm going to go ahead and get mine out the way. I'm not going to pick because I feel like maybe you guys may pick like the favorites. But one guy I'm monitoring is Anthony Edwards. I like his odds a lot. And I think he might, and I know Phoenix has got their scores. I think he might lead the league in score. I think he might do that. Team USA showed me a lot, bro.
I mean,
I watched the Team USA games this year.
He was the alpha.
Anthony Edwards was like, I can't remember who was all on that team, but he was definitely walking around like. And I think if he was on the real USA team this year, which he probably will be, he's probably still going to carry himself like he's the best player in the league. Like I was always out of that draft the LaMelo guy, which I'm still very high on LaMelo, but Anthony Edwards he's just a guy who's gonna score, and also too. He doesn't. I don't even like nobody on that team can impede. Like in terms of like I need to get my shots. Like respect the cat, but like nobody on that team should be asking for the ball. So it's like he's gonna have the runway to do whatever he wants, and I think that team might be decent. One guy I don't like is Luka because I just don't think the team's gonna be good.
I agree.
So it's just like that's a tough one. But I get that's my get that one out of the way.
I like that one.
Whoever wants to go next.
All right, Zoo. Well, we know the two favorites. At least I don't know betting wise, but Jokic and Giannis. Probably the top two.
Based on wins, they're going to be up there.
I'm going to stick with it. I mentioned it earlier, man. Maybe I'm a little too hype on the Celtics this year, but I'm going with Jason Tatum. I think this is the year. This is the year. And to Sean's point, I think somebody just has to be assertive and I think he's tired of being called out for it. Jaylen Brown just got paid. He might be a little complacent. Jason Tatum's going to have to pick up the slack. I don't know. I like it. I think, and the only reason I'm not picking Giannis is because I do think Lillard's going to take a little bit of the stardom away.
Yep.
And I think that's also going to dilute both of their chances to win MVP, but it will bring the team higher overall, right? Look at a guy like Jokic. He was due last year. Everybody knows that. Might have a little bit of post-championship blues, like you were mentioning, too. It's hard to repeat. Not saying they're going to be a bad team. We both have them as a top 2 team in the league this year, or in the West, sorry. But I think the Celtics, and I think they're going to be competing with the Bucks for this, the best record in the league, because the East is a lot less strong. It's weaker, right, than the West. So I do think the best record will end up as the number 1 seed in the East. And who knows, man? I think there's going to be some great battles between those 2 teams, like we mentioned. But I'm going with Jason Tatum this year. I think he's the guy that him and Luka are the 2 guys that I think people consider due for an MVP.
True.
But I just think that I believe a little more, way more in the Celtics than I do in the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. That's an interesting perspective because these voters, man, they don't like to vote for the same dude again.
Exactly.
They just don't like it. It's human bias. It is what it is. That's how Joel won it. But yeah, I'm looking at that because Giannis, I'm gonna ding him for Damian Lillard's acquisition. You're not gonna get more valuable when you got a guy that's the NBA top 75 player of all time. So yeah. I got Giannis off my list. Jokic, man, I love Jokic. The analytics love Jokic, but Jamal Murray's ascension makes Jokic value go a little lower, even though I feel like that team, though, was still without when Jokic goes to the bench, that team is atrocious.
Yeah.
So he's still up there in my voting right now. Like I still got Jokic still in the running. Obviously, the last year not winning it helps him this year because there's no bias from last year. Now people are like, oh, we should have voted Jokic MVP. How can we vote for Embiid? That guy looked like a bum in the playoffs, man. Maybe a little. Okay, I'm sorry, Jokic. We're going to vote for you this year. So right now in my mind, I got Jokic up in my mind right now. Jason Tatum, I don't see it, man. I think the team is just too talented around him. If you look at their starting lineup on paper, I would say it's probably the most talented on paper starting lineup in the NBA with guys that are former All-Star and let's go the center Porzingis, former All-Star, Drew Holiday, former All-Star, obviously Brown and Tatum. So 4 guys that have made All-Star teams, and then you have a Derek White who's just the ultimate role player. Everybody loves Derek White. So I just feel like on paper that team's just too talented for Tatum to be the most valuable, and he doesn't have to carry the load when you got guys on his team that can score 20 points and defend or two-way guys. Mm-hmm. So that's my logic of Tatum not winning MVP, because MVP load is when you got to carry a load, and I feel like Tatum is obviously the best player, but he's on probably the most talented starting lineup in the NBA right now. So that's why I don't got Tatum, man. So I'm down to Jokic, and I know you were hating on this team, man, but I'm back to Luka again, man. I'm back to Luka. Last year, obviously, a disaster. Didn't see it coming. They started tanking. Like this is a team that legitimately started tanking at the end of the year, because I remember, because they were fighting with the Chicago Bulls, trying to be the bottom 10, and they rested their entire lineup against the Bulls, and obviously
got fined for it.
Exactly, they got fined for it, but it paid off because they got to keep the pick, and they drafted a center and Lively to hopefully complement Luka in the future. So this is a team that won 38 games while the expectations were closer to winning 50 games, and they won 38. So last year was an absolute disaster. But I look at Luka Doncic, man, and I feel like this team, they made some sneaky acquisitions this year, man. Sneaky acquisitions, man.
Do not say Grant Williams. Please do not say him.
I like Grant Williams, man. He's the perfect role player, Sean. He just plays his role. He's a big 6'7", 6'9", like body. He's strong. So he's the guy that guards the tough wings. And he can shoot the basketball. Like, he dramatically increased shooting his basketball for the Boston Celtics. I'm still not sure why Grant Williams was not in the rotation on the Boston Celtics. Very odd situation, because he's a two-way guy. He just plays his role. So that situation was always a little weird with me, but they got him on a nice deal. A lot of championship contenders were looking at him. Jaden Hardy, man, this is a nice little 6-man off the bench guy. I really like his game, because I still remember when he was drafted in the second round. I'm like, Dallas doing it again with these second-round draft picks. I remember last time it was Jalen Brunson, the second-round pick, and it turned out to be – didn't see him being an all-star, but like I thought it was going to be a nice backup. Like, turned out to be an all-star. But I feel like Jaden Hardy's that dude off the bench, give you 10 to 12 points off the bench, that spark plug that can shoot threes, man. So I feel like he's also going to take a step in this game. So I'm like, obviously they got rid of Christian Wood, who I feel like this guy is just a chemistry disaster right now. Like every team that has Christian Wood just doesn't seem to want him back the next year. It's a really odd situation. So obviously him and Jason Kidd and that JaVale McGee situation last year was pretty disastrous when you promised JaVale McGee a starting position in the NBA. That was just atrocity at the GM level, giving JaVale McGee a mid-level, man. That was they waved his ass, man. Like that was dude, that was a terrible situation. A terrible situation. Kind of weird. So Luka. A lot of mishaps in I would say in Dallas' management. I feel like this offseason, they actually have a pretty solid offseason as far as getting more traditional role players around Luka, getting back a Seth Curry, a sniper who was formerly on the roster, who fit really well with Luka as a secondary ball handler and shooter. So I like that pickup too, getting Seth Curry back on the team. So I'm like, this is a little throwback. Dante Exum, man, guy was over in Europe, man. Looking like
that's right.
He was a bust. He was a bust. It was a bust, man. But this is a throwback, another little role player. I am reaching, but he's a role player.
This is insane.
No, this is a role player, man. I'm telling you.
You're explaining why Luka's carrying the team.
Exactly. Yeah. That's my point. When you have Luka Doncic, who everybody knows he puts up MVP numbers every year, so I don't have to worry about numbers. It's about wins and losses. And in a game of this, man, you just need role players. That's all you need. You need solid role players for Luka to carry, and obviously the chemistry should get better after one more year with Kyrie Irving, because last year they barely won any games together. So obviously they got to get better after an off season together. So with that,
can Luka win the play? Can he win the MVP if they're in the play-in zoo?
Exactly,
dude. That's the thing. They're not going to be in the play-in, man. Last year was just a disaster of a year. The year before, they were a legitimate team that won 50 games with a bunch of role players without a Kyrie Irving. It was a Jalen Brunson.
The West was also different then too. The West didn't have the guys they got now.
Exactly.
And Jalen Brunson, yeah.
They're not even going to be a top. I don't think they'll be a top 4 team in the West.
Not even close.
Dude, and there ain't going an MVP.
Luka Doncic in shape now, man. Luka Doncic coming in shape. That's huge.
Oh, fine.
Usually he plays into shape. He gets a little cocky.
You always make fun of Kyle Lowry for me.
Yeah. Kyle Lowry. He's coming in shape this year. Stay off the hookah, man. The guy was playing off-season basketball, man. Stayed in shape. Looking more slim Luka. You got slim Luka, more chemistry with Kyrie Irving, and a bunch of role players back. I'm in on Luka Doncic for MVP, man.
I respect it. I think Tatum has a better chance than
because his team is going to be a whole lot.
Just because his team is going to be a higher record. That's the only, and that's the deciding.
Like if I'm looking, but you know what they say about record, man.
It's the only reason. It's the only reason Derrick Rose won the MVP.
Talk about it. He had a better record,
and you know that. And
voting has changed, man. They look more at the analytics now.
That smile says it all.
Like if you look at the West right now, like I don't see them finishing better than Denver, Memphis, Phoenix, Lakers, OKC. What is that? 5?
Wow.
Golden State.
Yeah.
Like Sacramento. OKC. Like they're probably going to be at the 6 to 7. 6 or 7 range. If they can get to the 6 and stay out of the play-in, which would be very tough.
Too.
Yeah, like if they can get to 6 and Luka is has his numbers, then it's possible. But it's like
he'll be top 5.
I don't know. Yeah, he would be. Yeah, but I don't see him winning it. Like they would have to if somehow they were like a top 4 or 3, like Zoo or to people's point, they made it anywhere in the top 4, then Luka would win it because that would be their storylines would be.
At
like
least
manufactured would get there. Yeah, they would.
He'd at least be second in voting.
Yeah, if they got he would be up there because then it's like the bigger story. Because his team. I know Zoo laid it out, but his team is nowhere near Tatum, and I just think.
Yeah,
I think Luka too. Like that would be a situation where I could see that happening. But they got to make it. I don't see them being that good this year. I just don't. Like now, I love Kyrie, but it's getting to. Start ticking for Luka and his time in Dallas after this year, I think, because he's going to get fed up with a lot of the personnel changes they've been making. I think it's going to be very close.
Come to the Bulls.
Very, very close. Listen, when LeBron retires, he's going to LA. When LeBron retires, he's going there. They'll That'll be a possibility.
Damn.
I could see it.
I could see
He'll
it
be
too.
there.
Spoil.
So, yeah. But my rookie of the year, since we kind of just finished that conversation up, this might be a cheat code, but I like Chet's chances a lot. Like his chances a whole lot.
I can't even hate on that, man. I can't even
agree.
hate on that, man.
I feel like that's cheating, but it's just like I'm kind of centered in with him. Him battling Wembanyama.
Oh, that was great.
Even though Wembanyama looked a whole lot better, Chet was holding his own, and he just looks like he's got vengeance on his mind. Because last year I think he was a little irritated with seeing all the other guys, Paolo and all those guys coming in and playing and getting accolades. I think last year he thought the rookie of the year should have been his, even though Paolo got it. So I think this year he's going to come in motivated, and I think his team too is going to be good enough to where people.
Oh yeah, they're going to win games.
More.
They're going to be.
They're going to be better than Scoot and Victor. So yeah, I think.
But that's what I was just going to say is sometimes the rookie of the year doesn't go to the team that's doing.
No, it definitely does. It went to Paolo last year.
I'm not like Wembanyama. I think he's the betting favorite. I think Chet is second by maybe about 120 to plus 120 to plus 180 for Chet. I'm actually interested to see where Scoot is. Now, I know he dealt with a little bit of injury stuff. He could end up being second. I don't know. I just think he might end up having the ball in his hands a lot more and a faster-paced offense than the Spurs run. Not that Wembanyama is going to be a bust or anything. I think he's a beast. But it is funny how a little bit of the hype around Wembanyama has slowed down after actually watching him play. Now, everyone still thinks about Victor, but you ain't hearing too much since that first summer league game, first couple summer league games.
He's
going to be a great player.
Summer league, schmummer league, man. Whatever.
He's going to be a great player, Zoo. But he's going to be a great player. But I bet if I'm betting on it, I'm betting on Chet, and I see the value in Scoot Henderson. But I'm gonna go with.
Because Chet's like plus 700 on FanDuel.
I like Chet a lot. I guess see him because the GOAT Sam Presti. He don't miss draft picks.
He does not.
He just never misses on draft picks and. Pretty much there were reports that they had him as number one on their board. So if they had number one pick, they would have taken Chet Holmgren as their guy. And from what I've seen from his preseason game, he looks like that dude. And I like his mentality because I remember at the end of the game, man, like when Wembanyama went there for like a hug, man, you see Chet just fucking furious looking, man. He just didn't look him in the eyes, man, because they have a little rivalry, man. I like that. Don't want a buddy, man. Obviously, that is the pedestal of Victor Wembanyama. This guy better than you. This guy's just like he's just a taller version of you and better than you in every way. So I like that aspect of like, okay, I'm better than this dude. So I like Chet. I'm fading Scoot Henderson, and this is the reason. Portland Trailblazers. It's a very young team, and they have a lot of elite guards too. Anthony Simons.
Anthony's a beast.
Shaedon Sharpe.
That dude could really shoot the basketball, and he's more of a combo. He's like a smaller two guard, so he likes to dribble, and jack up shots. Shaedon Sharpe. I call him a young man, Zach LaVine out there, man. He's got the elite athleticism. He got the shooting already. Like he's shooting elite and an elite level at such a young age. So I see him as a Zach LaVine type who likes jacking up shots. So I feel like Scoot Henderson, obviously they shipped Dame out. Like Scoot Henderson got some young guys out there who are trying to get paid, trying to get stats, trying to get numbers. DeAndre Ayton, he's down there to get some.
Yeah, he's down there.
The ball. I'm going to post up. I'm going to shoot my little midi, man. I want to give my 20 and 10. You got Anthony Simons, who got paid a lot of money, but he wants future contracts, so that could be jacking up shots. And Shaedon Sharpe is still going for his first contract. And also got a guy in Jerian Grant who likes chucking up a lot of shots too because he put up 20 points in Detroit, man, feeling like the dude down there. So he got a lot of mouths to feed, and I feel like numbers-wise, it'll be a little harder for Scoot Henderson to blossom and be like the guy that shows out because he might not be the best like backcourt player with all those elite guards on that team because they got some really nice young talent. And I feel like Anthony Simons is like the main reason why because I feel like that's a dude that could dominate the possession, the ball, like a CJ McCollum type. Like this dude be jacking up shots and hitting threes because he's an elite shooter. So I feel like that's going to hinder Scoot Henderson from winning Rookie of the Year. But Chet, though, he's going to be in the spotlight because he's on this rising OKC team, man. So I feel like he's a legitimate threat. Like you get plus odds on Chet too. Victor is the minus odds, obviously, as the favorite. Yep. I'm leaning Victor Wembanyama to win Rookie of the Year because that was my pick at the beginning of the year, and his odds went down a little. Like he used to be like minus 200, minus 300, and then they saw a little more from Chet, so then it moved a little more back to the middle. So I'm gonna still lean Victor because I think that dude just be putting up 20 points and like 9 rebounds and like 2-3 blocks.
Yep.
And he's gonna have all the opportunity in that Popovich team because there's no guys.
No one else.
Yeah, there was no one else. So he's gonna have
more. Wait. We gotta put respect on Devin Vassell. He got a little bag. He got a
he got a big
he got a big bag actually.
140 for a guy that I would say most basketball. You got to be a hardcore basketball fan to know who Devin Vassell
I know who he is. He played at FSU, and he was like a 3-star guard, shooting
Yeah.
guard out of Georgia. Yeah, so he got developed.
You gotta
Left
be
after
a
his
true
second
hoop
year.
fan to know who Vassell is, because that guy got
And,
paid
yeah.
a lot of money. I think
I think that pay was more of a let's just pay him now, because if he does hit, then we'll have somebody as at least a secondary option.
Yeah, he's a
But
shooter.
You're just trying
He's a
to mold
shooter.
around.
Yep.
You just use mold around Victor. Everything that you're doing is mold around Victor.
Got a shooter around him.
Build around him.
Yeah, and speaking of Portland, I think Jeremy Grant might be another. I know he just got paid, but he might be another trade candidate for somebody. I don't know where he would go, but I don't think his timeline and his fit.
Yeah, his
Denver
fit. He got
Nuggets.
paid.
He wasn't either. Wasn't he there?
I think he did.
He
started
was
his career.
there before Aaron Gordon. As
there you go.
The lanky
Aaron Gordon's a
swing
better
guy.
fit,
Yeah,
yeah.
Aaron
Bring him
Gordon's
back.
way better.
They could use
Because
him.
then he
but
went to Detroit. Then
They'd ask for
Yeah.
a lot. They'd ask for a lot. They'd probably have to flip Braun and then picks.
You know who Jeremy Grant would probably be a nice fit with is Miami, like another secondary scorer with Jimmy.
Miami just
He's
doesn't
another
get
4.
trades done.
I don't know who they would trade though. Like I mean, I think if they would never do this, and I don't think it can work because of the Jaime Jaquez Jr. his contract. But
They're not.
I mean, if
The
you just look
Blazers
at-
don't want to. For some reason, they don't want to trade with Miami either. They're just gonna be like, "We want Bam. That's all we want, man." And then you're gonna be like,
Well,
"Not
I mean, if I'm the GM, that's what I'm asking for too.
Yeah.
yeah, I agree."
That's
But
all I want.
I don't want Tyler
Miami's
Hero
like-
and Kyle Lowry.
I don't want to.
Get outta
Yeah, I
here.
don't.
I don't want Kyle
I don't
Lowry's
want-
expiring. Come on now.
Nah, I'm good. But that was our NBA talk. We have a lot more coming down the pipe just with opening weekend. I don't think any of y'all play. I don't think y'all play fantasy basketball. I guess
can't handle it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's an everyday.
Thank you.